Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're heading a little outside the main Helsinki buzz. We're exploring a place that's, well, truly monumental, but maybe surprisingly hidden for some visitors. Tarvaspää. And if you're thinking Tarvaspää, why haven't I heard that name shouted from the rooftops? Well, it might be because it's tucked away. You almost have to make a small pilgrimage to get there. It's the incredible studio home of Akseli Gallen-Kallela, the national painter of Finland. And what makes it immediately grab you is this paradox. It's often described as half fortress, half artist dream. That description alone tells you something's going on. It's this architectural statement that feels both defensive and incredibly personal.
That paradox is absolutely the key. It really captures the artist's ambition, back in the early 20th century. So our mission today really is to dig into those layers, the architecture, the history behind it, the personal vision, the artistic context, to understand why this place became what it is, which is essentially a living, breathing, total work of art. And why this specific spot? Why did Gallen-Kallela choose this a beautiful, but kind of remote point on the coastline to build his monument?
Yeah, and what strikes you right away, even before you see the building, is that the experience starts way earlier. The journey itself is this necessary, gentle transition. It forces you to slow down, leave the city behind. So let's maybe unpack that approach for anyone thinking of going. You start in the city center, pretty standard. You hop on tram number 4, heading towards Munkkiniemi, and get off at Laajalahti Bay. Sounds easy enough.
It does, but that's where the deliberate part of the journey kicks in.
Absolutely. You cross the street, find Munkkiniemi, and then you commit to the walk. This isn't just a quick stroll around the block. You're walking about 3 kilometers.
Yeah.
And you're consciously moving through a landscape that's changing, shifting with every 100 meters or so.
It really is a literal stepping away. You pass under this quite striking modern white apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels like the last bit of dense city life.
Yeah.
Then suddenly you're in these green spaces. Our sources even mention seeing a Frisbee golf course, which is kind of a funny detail.
Oh, yeah.
But it signals that change, right? You're leaving the sort of regulated capital environment and entering the kind of nature that really inspired Gallen-Kalella's work. And that slower pace, that rhythm, it's essential because it prepares you for the visual impact when you finally arrive. As the building starts to appear through the trees along this path, you get that dualism straight away. It looks imposing, protective. That's the fortress aspect. But then the sheer size, and especially the placement of those big windows, clearly announce its real purpose. A studio, a magnificent one open to the light.
Let's talk about the architecture itself then, because like you said, it tells that story immediately. The materials.
Yes, you see that intentional contrast. The base, the foundation is this rough-hewn granite. It's not polished or refined. It's rugged, heavy, almost primal feeling. It really roots the building in Finnish soil, in tradition, speaks to the land itself.
Okay, grounded in the earth.
But then, shooting up from that heavy base, you get these white plastered walls and these really dramatic steep roof lines. And those elements, they're deliberately echoing medieval castles, maybe some grand manors he saw traveling in Europe. So it's a very knowing blend, architecturally speaking. You've got the rugged Finnish foundation supporting this European cultural aspiration.
Wow, that's a powerful statement before you even get to the door. But hang on, let's pause on the fortress idea for a second. Because this piece of land, it has history, it has layers. Before this monument was here, there was something else entirely. And knowing that provides a real aha moment, doesn't it, about the peninsula's past?
Precisely. You're basically stepping onto ground that already had its own story, a story connected to Finnish high society, actually. The whole area was once dominated by a place called Villa Linudd. It was built way back in 1859, originally for a wealthy sugar manufacturer, Fyodor Kislev, and his wife, Amalia.
Villa Linudd. Sounds quite different from Tarvaspää.
Oh, completely different vibe. It started as a fairly modest red and white 2-story summer cottage. Later on, it got expanded with all those, charming, intricate carpenter-style details that were popular for summer houses in the late 19th century. Very elegant, light, airy, focused on leisure.
And you can just picture the life there, right? Totally different from the serious national romanticism Gallen-Kallela was about. This was lively, elegant, 19th century summer culture, croquet on the lawns, the scent of lilac and spirea bushes everywhere. They even had one of those mirrored garden balls on a pedestal reflecting the scene. Classic.
Totally.
And how people arrived. Forget the 3-kilometer walk. Guests would just sail up to the private pier on a steamboat. It sounds like something out of a Chekhov play or something. Summering gentry.
It's the perfect contrast to the artistic fortress that came later, isn't it? And the key moment linking them is 1911. By that time, the villa actually belonged to Gallen-Kallella's mother-in-law. He bought the land from her. And here's the interesting bit. He didn't just tear down Villa Linudd. No, instead, he renovated that old, elegant building, made it suitable for living in year-round. And he moved his family there. So they lived in this charming, older, slightly delicate house, while he was right next door, overseeing the intense, demanding construction of the big, heavy Tarvaspää studio.
So the old villa became the family's base camp, almost. A cozy command center while the fortress was rising. Which means that history isn't just buried, it's still physically present today.
It absolutely is. For visitors now, the old Villa Linudd is the museum café. So you can literally sit there, have your coffee, look out at the bay, and reflect on that shift in Finnish culture right on the spot where 19th century society folks were playing their lawn games.
That's brilliant. Okay, let's pivot then to the main event, Tarvaspää itself. We know Gallen-Kallela was primarily a painter, not an architect.
Yeah.
Yet he personally designed this whole massive structure in 1911, 1912. That suggests, a serious level of confidence and architectural understanding, maybe.
Oh, definitely confidence. But it stemmed from a much bigger artistic idea he had. He wasn't just designing a building to work in. He was thinking in terms of a Gesamtkunstwerk.
Right, the German term, a total work of art.
Exactly. It meant that every single element had to be part of one unified artistic vision. From the huge structure itself down to the carved beams inside, the furniture he designed, even the fabrics used. The building itself was basically his largest sculpture, his biggest canvas, maybe.
So if he wasn't formally trained as an architect, where did this vision come from? It feels like he's pulling together several different threads.
He absolutely was. You can sort of identify three main streams feeding into the design of Tarvaspää. First, there's the idea of the European cultural salon. He'd spent significant time in Paris, Berlin, and he liked that model where an artist's studio wasn't just a workshop, but also a cultural hub. A place to show work, exchange ideas.
Okay, the studio is a public-ish statement.
Right. Second, and maybe less obvious, was something he picked up from his travels in Africa. He gained this real appreciation for simple, functional buildings. Architecture that used local materials honestly, focused on purpose and durability.
Interesting. Not what you might first expect.
No, but it's there. And the third stream, which we've touched on, is crucial. Finnish national romanticism.
Can you unpack that a bit for listeners who might not be familiar with the Finnish context? What did that movement expect from artists like him?
Sure. National romanticism was this really powerful cultural wave in Finland around the turn of the 20th century. It was all about forging a distinct Finnish identity separate from, Russian or Swedish influences.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to do that was often by drawing inspiration from ancient Finnish folklore. The Kalevala epic was huge, and from the rugged natural landscape. Forests, lakes, and also from traditional Finnish building techniques. So for Gallen-Kallela, using local materials like that rough granite, incorporating folk art motifs, that gave his work this deep, authentic, almost ancient Finnish soul.
Fascinating. So Tarvaspää aimed to fuse European sophistication, that African functional honesty, and the deep roots of Finnish identity. Quite a cocktail.
Exactly. And you feel that blend most powerfully, I think, when you step inside into the main space. This soaring, double-height central hall, he called it the true heart of the house. The design is incredible visually, but it's also incredibly practical.
Practical meaning.
Yeah.
Huge ceilings, right? And those enormous north-facing windows.
Yes. The north light is absolutely key for a painter doing large-scale work. It gives you that consistent, cool, diffused light all day long. No harsh moving shadows messing up your colors or composition. And the massive walls. They were literally designed to hold the monumental canvases he was famous for, like the Kalevala paintings.
Okay, but let me push back on that slightly. If the main driver was practical, needing north light, needing space, why go to all the trouble and expense of making it look like a medieval fortress? Fortresses are inherently dark, defensive. Why wrap a practical studio in that specific aesthetic? Was it just artistic flair or something deeper?
That really is the million-dollar question about Tarvaspää, isn't it? And I think the answer is about the statement he wanted to make. It wasn't about hiding the function. It was about elevating it. By clothing the practical studio in the visual language of a fortress, he made his workspace symbolize the strength, the resilience, the deep history of Finnish national culture itself. It became a physical manifestation of national romanticism, a cultural stronghold built from the land.
Cultural defense, I like that.
And the interiors carry that through, that Gesamtkunstwerk idea again. You see the specific details he designed. Heavy, carved wooden beams overhead, sturdy, almost rustic folk-style furniture. Every little detail reinforces that this wasn't just a house to live in, it was a declaration built to last, built to mean something.
And apparently that feeling, that vision, it really persists when you visit today. Sources say it feels less like a standard museum, objects behind ropes, and more like you're actually stepping inside the artist's self-portrait, but one made of stone and wood and space.
That sense of authenticity has been maintained incredibly well. Even the name, Tarvaspää, wasn't just picked at random. Gallen-Kallela actually consulted a language professor to find a name deeply rooted in the location. It was derived from a nearby island called Tarvo, so even the name itself was consciously woven into the Finnish landscape. Every detail mattered.
So for you, the listener, planning a trip, remember the museum has permanent displays showing this unified vision, plus rotating exhibitions. And it's really worth taking time with the small things. The furniture, the kitchenware he chose, the textiles, they all reinforce that total work of art concept.
The domestic scale alongside the monumental.
So just to recap the whole experience, get that peaceful transitional walk, which really sets the mood. You get this deep immersion in the life and work of a true national icon. And then you get those amazing quiet views over Laajalahti Bay, especially, as you said, from the café terrace and the old Villa Linudd. History and scenery combined. It makes for a really unforgettable day trip, merging history, nature, art.
So, summing it all up, what does Tarvaspää really represent? I think it functions as this incredible summary of Gallen-Kallella's entire contribution to Finnish identity. It's this seamless blend of European ambition, deep Finnish tradition, and the raw beauty of the local environment. Visiting is like traveling through multiple historical layers at once. You feel the ghost of that genteel 19th century villa, and then you're confronted by this powerful, assertive statement of early 20th century national art. It's quite something.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to mull over. It's about that genius blend of the practical and the romantic. Think about what a painter needs in a workshop. Huge walls, high ceilings, that perfect, steady north light, utterly practical requirements. But instead of just building a functional box, Gallen-Kallela took those industrial scale needs and somehow fused them perfectly with the aesthetic of a medieval castle, a fortress. He elevated the sheer functionality of the workshop into something deeply symbolic, a cultural landmark that still resonates today. How practicality became poetry. Something to think about.